You're listening to the Endless Party Radio Show with the Doc on Colossal Radio.
It gives me great pleasure to have this guy on the show. He's coming to the Mock Chunk Opera House August 31st in our resort town of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, not too far from here. And just an amazing musician. Les Dudek on board with the show. Les, are you there?
Pretty good, Barry. Pretty good, Lenny. How you doing?
I am doing absolutely awesome. My gosh, am I glad I'm glad my people were able to get the phones to work, that we were able to figure this out, man.
Yeah, man. I'm still trying to get you where you're not distorting over here.
Oh, really? Am I distorting a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit there, but I got a new phone, and I don't know. These things are, they're temperamental.
You know what? But you know what they keep doing, Les? I just had this conversation with somebody, a friend of mine, actually in Florida, like a good friend that I want to keep on my good side because, if I ever need to find somebody, what he does for a living with the government is he finds the people that don't want to be found. So he's a good personal friend, and we were talking about these phones yesterday. How is it that they're charging us more, per month, and our service sucks? It sucks bad.
Don't get me started, Lane.
That is too funny. Les Dudek on board with the show, man. And I don't know, how do I lead into this thing, man? How do I lead into it? With
we can start by saying it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. How about that?
Let's start from the beginning. Let's start right from the beginning, man. Calling from Florida, played everywhere, played with rock and roll elite, and we can highlight and touch base on some of them. But what I consider, at least myself, the greatest band in rock and roll history that opened the door for so many, and without mentioning the group's name, and knowing some history behind, you and where it all started, this group actually caught your ear at an early age, right?
Which one?
The Beatles.
Oh, you talking about the Ventures?
How about the Beatles and the Ventures?
Yeah, well, Nookie Edwards caught me on guitar. I mean, after I heard Nookie Edwards play Slaughter on 10th Avenue, I was hooked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
But yeah, like a few of my peers at the time, of course the Beatles were the big hit, and
yeah,
that kind of started everything. But before that, I was into the Ventures, man. Stars on Guitars,
That's great, and we play some Ventures here on Colossal Radio, and with some of the history, whether it's all right in the on the information that my people supply me with, because everything on the internet is true. But your first acoustic guitar was bought from Sears and Roebuck. Is that true?
That's correct.
Really? How about that?
The funny story is it took 3 months for that guitar to get to the house, and when it did, I didn't know anything about tuning it, so I was trying to tune it, and I popped the string, and I said, "Now what? Where do I get a guitar string at?" And I ended up getting a set of black diamonds at the local drugstore. They had them behind the counter. It's like, man, what a lucky day this was.
Wow, that is funny. Les Dudek is an absolutely incredible musician, incredible guitarist, and when you look over this this career of yours, that is, you're still writing the pages. But when you go back and you talk about the Allman Brothers Band, Cher, Stevie Nicks, Boz Scaggs, Dave Mason. Dave Mason and I, exchanged words and hung out together as well, and I've had him on a couple of radio shows. I mean, let's not
leave out my mentor and my big brother, Steve Miller.
And Steve Miller, Miller.
Yeah.
That's I don't know, man. That's a hell of a wheelhouse.
Yeah, I turned down a lot of them too, Lane, because I was doing something else. But I was at the first Journey rehearsal.
Wow.
It was going to be Neil Sean and I on guitars. I got the call one day, and from this guy Herbie Herbert, who helped form the whole thing, and it's like I got offered a solo deal the same day as my first Journey rehearsal. So
wow,
I didn't have Perry at the time, so I went ahead and took the solo deal. But Bob Dylan offered me a deal. Who else? Chicago. When when Lowell George died, Little Feat, was offering me something.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like, when people were dying, I got the call, and it was kind of freaky that way. But yeah, crazy career. What can I say?
I'll tell you, man. It's taken you all over the all over the world, and started out with I don't know. Looks like a military family in a naval air station in Rhode Island is where it all started for you.
Yeah, that was my dad was 30 years in the Navy. He was with the Seabees, and he was the communications tech. Flew in PBYs in World War II, and one hell of a salty dog. He was in the North African invasion and all that. And I was born in the Naval Hospital of the original Seabees headquarters in Quonset Point, Rhode Island there.
Wow.
So that's where it all started for me.
Man,
my mom was a Rockette from Brooklyn.
Yeah, and like I said, when I knew we could possibly land you on the show, at least for a quick couple of minutes for sure, with the upcoming show at the Mock Chunk Opera House, and my guys were doing some research on this as well. That is one thing I did not know, but your mom, a former Radio City Music Hall Rockette, man, how cool is that? How cool!
Yeah, her brother had a comedy burlesque show called Bottoms Up out in Vegas for years too. It was on Ed Sullivan and all that back in the day. So yeah,
So you have somewhat of a musical family, or at least it seems. I mean, a talent. Like you didn't come out of really nowhere. Like mom had some things going on. Her brother had some things going on. I don't know. Was Dad able to play an instrument?
No, he was a salty dog. He was from Nebraska. He saw the world through the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he did. He was facing all over the world. And we miss them both. I actually had two custom Stratocasters made, and I call them Mom and Dad. So when I go on the road, I take Mom and Dad with me.
That is awesome, man. Very cool stuff. This guy Les on board here with us. Please check this guy out on Facebook or online. And when you talk Les Dudek, coming to the Mock Chunk Opera House Friday, August 31st. It's a show, an incredible show, and one you're not going to want to miss. Trust me on this one. Your work, and we'll get into the show and what people can expect, but even your work to lay the groundwork here in the foundation with Les Dudek on the show. Your work has been featured on NBC, ESPN, entertainment television, even the series Friends. I mean, people don't even know of your work.
I'm like Huey Lewis that way. He will come into Orlando and nobody will know he's there because he's playing a convention and playing golf.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, but a lot of that stuff you talked about was stuff I did for television. Like those little 2-minute ditties that you hear on TV. Those little instrumental things. And also like ESPN. The radio station. This and that. They'll use it for sports stuff. And that's just a little sideline mailbox thing I was doing for a while. Put those together, but
it's
still doing it.
Yeah, man, and you know what, and why not? Like I said, here I'm doing, I look back here, man, with this radio station I started up right here in the Pocono Mountains of PA after 35 years behind a mic somewhere. It's kind of like, what else would we do, man? This is all I know. This is all I've done, and I like it. And why not do what you love and love what you do?
Yeah, and then, then you sit there and you go, well, I'm loving it so much. Where did the time go?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. You are absolutely right. So the show coming up August 31st at the Mock Chunk Opera House. Let's talk a little bit about that. Is it a first time that you're at the Mock Chunk Opera House?
No, this will be the second time, and I got to tell you, I just fell in love with this opera house and the whole city. Really, Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. It's like a postcard, man. It's really a pleasure to go in there and. Great people, and it's just one that I want to keep on the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's It's such a an awesome venue, and I mean, let's face it. When I had Dan Hugos, who originally mentioned this, I had them on board. They are a sponsor of mine here on the show and the station, and Dan mentioned it. He goes, I'll reach out to Sherry and see if we can't get Les Dudek to do to do a bit with you on the show. And sure enough, here you are. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are tuning in for the first time here now, Les Dudek, certainly rock and roll elite. We got, whether he wants to be classified as that or not, I mean, he has worked with certainly the best of the best. And it's a show you won't want to miss. At the Opera House. The Opera House itself, I mean, let's face it, back in the 1800s, it was designed for just that, sound. They didn't have, the microphones and the amps and the speakers and the audio expertise. I mean, they had to design these places, and especially that such a historic building, and they've done such a great job to bring it all back to what it currently is. Now you get somebody in there with the acts they're bringing in, such as yourself. I mean, it just sounds so good.
Yeah, I mean, I find that same thing all over Pennsylvania. There's some really great theaters. I did one with Leon Russell a few years back, I forget what town that was, but then there's, Sellersville, I did one there.
Yeah.
There's just some really nice theaters in Pennsylvania, and I to see them utilizing these theaters and still bringing concerts in is just great, man, because it's such a better environment than going to a club or something like that,
Right.
But you got a lot of them going on there, and this one we're playing in Jim Thorpe is just it's one of the best, I think.
That's awesome. At this point, Eve, I guess at this point, maybe in your career, you. I don't know. You prefer these type of venues and the smaller venues and the more intimate venues, or do you still get that craving for, the bigger stage, the bigger arenas?
I would much prefer playing in a theater. I mean, it's always going to sound better. It's more intimate, more up close with the audience. It's just, I had the same conversation with Steve Miller one time. When he finally hit with the Joker. He went from the smaller venues to the arenas, and he said, I would rather sell out 2 or 3 nights in a theater and play that than play a big Coliseum or something, because of that fact, it just always sounds better, and it's just a better quality venue.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Steve Miller, man, and I know you and him and the relationship that you guys certainly have. I mean, gosh. Play a lot of Steve Miller here on the station. Just so good, so good. The music that you guys put down, that you were even part of, with all these guys. The lasting power, the staying power, less on this music is just, I don't know. How do you describe it? It's just that good.
I'm going to be doing a little acoustic segment in the front of it that's going to feature. The song that a guy named James Curley Cook and I wrote that was on my first Columbia album, and Steve Miller put it on his Book of Dreams album called Sacrifice. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the 2 songs I did with the Allman Brothers, Ramblin' Man and Jessica. We do a little cut down version. Where my bass player plays really good keyboards too. So it's just like a little. It's not like a full band version, but it's a fun little acoustic version that we do of that. And, then the rest of the stuff is just going to be things that I off my records, from my Columbia records and my records that I put out on my own label, E-Flat Productions. So that's kind of the gamut that we're running with the tunes. And plus I'm going to do a song that I have a kinship to, which, back in 78 I did a band with a couple of guys, Mike Finnegan and Jim Krieger, who were playing with Dave Mason prior to our get together, and Krieger, died back in '93. So I like to keep his memory alive. We do one of the songs that he wrote for Mason that was a big hit called "We Just Disagree." So I like to do that song to keep Krieger's memory alive, and it's just a fun show, man. We have a good time, and we hope everybody else does. Yeah,
I mean, this is great. You just gave me you really just gave me some goosebumps here with some of the music that you're doing with the show, from the Allman Brothers, from Steve Miller through Dave Mason and Finnegan. Mike Finnegan. Knowing these guys, what I've done, like I said again, for a lot of years, you learn to, know where these guys are from and who they played with, and how they filter in and out of, different groups or help each other out. But this is one show I'll make, and can't wait for this one at the Mock Chunk Opera House. Listen, guys, this week, August 31st, so you're not going to want to miss it. A couple of days, and you're going to see Les Dudek, certainly. Rock and Roll Elite. What do we have coming up? When you speak of some of your projects, things that are going on. Is there anything new coming out, or I know you've got some things in the works, but anything else we can look forward to?
Not at the present time. No, I'm just playing this stuff and just kind of watching and seeing what goes on with the business right now, because it's crazy out there.
Yeah.
But I got a little blues band that I'm starting down in Florida too, just for a sideline thing.
Oh, that's cool.
But other than that, I just been doing a little writing and just kind of stockpiling tunes, and a lot of the great studios that I used are gone. And I prefer recording the old style. I don't like all this stuff at the house so much. I like going in a studio and doing it for real. You get the ambiance, you get the vibe going on. But I was using a studio in Orlando called Greg Wright Productions. They closed. Criteria down in Miami closed. It's kind of sad, to see some of these studios go out of business because they were hit rooms,
Yeah.
And they were the real stuff, So, like I said, I'm just stockpiling some tunes, and when I get ready, I'll get in there and I'll do some more, hopefully.
Yeah, that's good. And I was going to lead into that too with the with the whole recording end of things that maybe most people don't really realize when it comes to people like yourself, but and so many people like yourself that I've had on this show and other previous radio shows, they miss that. Now, like you said, they have recording studios. You can you can do your lick, or you can do your set on your drums, or whatever it is. You record it, you send it off as an MP3 file, you send it off and away, and then you have somebody producing it and putting it all together. So many of you guys miss that, that one-on-one, that camaraderie, the vibe that you had in those studios, and maybe someday
you're always going to get the better energy and the better recordings, I think, when you're all in the same room and you're doing it together. So yeah, it's convenient. You can send files out and this and that, but for me, it's just the whole essence of the real part of making music together is kind of lost when that happens. So I prefer, I'll find another studio. I guarantee you, I'll get another one.
That's awesome. You do.
And I like to support those studios too. So, so they stay open. Keep the doors open.
Yeah, it's Les Dudek going to be at the Mock Chunk Opera House. I mean, you want to see one hell of a performance. Trust me on this one, man. This one's going to be. Just absolutely incredible. The travels have taken you everywhere, and it's funny you bring that up. I mentioned this to Sherry yesterday, and she goes, "I don't know. Maybe Les would know him, but I've got a great personal friend of the family who I often reference when I talk to people like yourself that has played with so many people and so many genres that you've crossed, throughout a very incredible career. But he lives in L.A. and he was a drummer right here from Lehighton, Pennsylvania, and we still are in contact with each other, and we're going to get him on the show in the next couple of weeks with his next project. But Denny Sywell, I don't know. Do you know? Have you ever run into Denny Sywell as a drummer for Paul McCartney and Wings? I mean, he was with Paul for a long time.
No, I don't think I've met him. It seems like I thought that he had somebody else for a while that I did know that was from a band called Jam Factory that was out of Georgia.
Right.
You know, but I'm not sure that's the same guy. I think it was a different guy.
Yeah, no, Denny was there right in the beginning when it all started up with Paul and Linda, and he was right there right from the get-go for a bunch of years right in the beginning, and has since gone on to play. He's done studio work too for, like yourself, for so many. I mean, knows them all, played with them all. It's just funny. Sometimes you talk to you guys when paths cross, and then sometimes not. But he too has done some great things and played with so many.
Well, tell him I said hi anyway.
I will, man. No, I really will. I really will. So, is there any one moment with some of the people that you've jammed with, from Steve Miller to Cher or Stevie Nicks or the Allman Brothers, those guys, or Leon Russell? Any one moment that stands out more so than another? Whether it be a crazy story or a crazy night or a crazy week on the road or anything that stands out.
Well, I'll just give you one jam. I mean, I've had so many, Lane, that I would take up a whole day. I mean, you're talking to an old rocker here. I mean, from Elton John to Bette Midler. I mean, I've had a lot of stories. There was this one time I looked up on stage in L.A. and I was jamming with Gene Simmons from Kiss, Spencer Davis, Albert Collins, and myself, and Mitch Mitchell on drums, from Hendrix, and so, I've gone on stage with Greg Allman. We did with Muddy Waters, once in L.A. I mean, there was a time that I was with Boz and Steve Miller that Elton John came up and he was with doing a tennis vacation, and he says, Miller says, well, Elton, you want to just come up and jam with us? No, I couldn't do that, and then 5 minutes he comes back later and he says, I couldn't refuse such a gracious offer, and then he had all his chick singers with him, so we went up and did Lucille by Little Richard, I mean, there's just countless stories, so
I'll bet,
everybody keeps telling me I need to write a book, and so maybe I will one day.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Knowing again, those of you that are in and out on any radio show for that matter, Les Dudek on board here with us. Certainly rock and roll elite, man, and coming to the Mock Junk Opera House August 31st. If there would be anybody I would agree with on writing a book and knowing, certainly. Not all about you. Maybe that would be in the book, but I'll tell you what, with the people that you've played with and that you just mentioned, and those of you listening to the show, that's only a tip of the iceberg, who Les Dudek has played with as an incredible guitarist. You would be, I would be first in line to buy that book, man, for real. First in line.
Cool.
First in line. Yeah. It would be. Man, get a ghostwriter, man. Start writing them down. It would be so cool to hear it from your perspective. It would be unreal. Why is it, though, when the guitar guys are up there, why the hell is it that the drummers, and I say this to Denny or any other drummers that I've had on the show, why is it the drummers have all the stories? What the hell's up with the drummers? I don't know what's up with the drummers.
What, they do or don't have the story?
No, they seem to always have the story. The drummers always seem to have the story.
Oh, well, for me, it's like Spinal Tap, drummers come and go, my last drummer, Rick Derringer, stole my last drummer from me, so.
No kidding, that's funny. I just throw the drummers under the bus in a good kind of way. It's like, it's like always drummers have all the stories. It's like, all right, okay, that's too fun. What's with, one of my guys just showed me this here too from your Facebook page. Man, pretty cool guitars, man, that you're getting custom made. The Les Dudek, looking, and now this was posted a bunch of years ago, but the old school 59 Gibson, man, it's like pretty cool stuff.
What's that?
Is it custom made guitar from Mark Stolson?
Oh, Mark Stolman. Yeah, that's a Stoll guitar. In fact, I'm finally having a case made for that up in TKL. I think is the people that make the Gibson cases. Because it's a little different than a Les Paul in dimensions. So I finally found the company that would make me a case for it.
Wow.
I haven't been able to take it on the road because I don't like taking it in a gig bag. It's too fragile in the gig bag, so.
Right.
But yeah, Mark Stolman made that. That's I call it my Like Hell It's Yours guitar because it's got my name and mother pearl all down the neck.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah.
so it's like one of those Like Hell It's Yours,
Yeah. Yeah.
Prove it's yours.
How about it? Yeah, how about it?
Yeah.
This, I don't know, man. The show is just going to be so epic, and I can't believe I missed it the first time at the Opera House. And
well, you got to make it this time.
I most definitely will be making it this time. And I'm actually home, and I'm not on the road for this coming weekend, so it's going to work. It's going to work beautiful for me, but. Where do we go from here? I mean, I know we can get information off Facebook and website and finding Les Dudek online, but where do we go from here, man? Where else are we playing? How many places? How many times are you getting out on the road a year, Les?
Oh, it hasn't been that many, in the last couple of years. It's just I don't know. I've just been kind of laying in Florida, hanging out. I'm enjoying my semi-retirement days.
Yeah, good for you, man. Yeah.
So when I'm able to go out and play, I do it. Like I said, I'm putting together this blues band where we play, locally around Florida just to have fun,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's just, I just take it one day at a time, and have fun with it.
Yeah. How about it? I mean, here's a guy that lived it and breathed it, still doing it, and I don't know, man. You ever think when you look back, going, "My gosh, I can't even believe I lived through that, that rock and roll era. I lived through it."
It's been a roller coaster ride, my brother.
How about it, man? How about it?
I'll give you one story. Like I'm in the shower with Cher back when I was living with her. And she asked me, she goes, "What do you think we're doing together, LD?" So well, here's the way I look at it. You're just a chick from the valley. I'm just a hippie from the '60s, and we're just hanging out with each other until something else better comes along.
Yeah.
She goes, "Good answer, LD."
Good answer, LD. Good answer, LD.
Now, can you get my back?
That's it. Is that what she called you? Is that what Cher called you, LD?
Yeah, she called me LD. I called her Benny.
You called her what?
Benny.
Benny.
Benny. It just works out better when you're trying to get her attention in an airport. You know what I'm saying? You can't. Hey, Cher, come on, look at this. I was like, then you're swamped.
How long did the relationship last?
We hung out for about 3 years. We did an album and a movie together. I was in that movie Mask with her. I was one of the bikers. I was Bone in that movie with Sam Elliott. They took me to a warehouse with about 30 bikes, and they asked me which one I wanted to ride. And of course, I found the one that looked like the Peter Fonda bike with the American flag on the back and everything, the old pan head with a spring on it. I said, well, that's a no-brainer. I want to ride that one, right? So I showed up at the movie set, the first day, and this guy walks by, and he looks at me and looks at the bike, and he goes, "Oh, deja vu," and he keeps walking. And I found out, from Peter Bogdanovich. I said, "Peter, who is this guy? Why did he say deja vu?" He says, "That's Laszlo Kovacs. He's our cinematographer, and he also was the cinematographer for Easy Rider."
Wow.
So it was a magical moment for me. I'm like, oh man,
it's what a career! What a career! Well, make sure she's.
Well, we're staying right down the street from the theater in a haunted hotel, which I love. I love haunted hotels, and there's a bar right there. So maybe we'll tip one up right there.
Maybe we should. Like I said, this guy.
I love that name, Colossal Radio. That's stellar.
It came, honestly, here's how this whole thing came about, man, because I was like, I got this in my craw after doing the whole corporate radio gig, and I just always had it in my craw to do something on my own. So, the way technology is, and internet radio, and all this other crazy stuff, man, that you can do on such a smaller scale anymore, just because of technology. It was the end of last year, not too far from the holidays, Christmas, and I didn't have a name, but I was ready to write a check for this business, and it's like, Christ Almighty, I don't have a name for it. What the hell am I going to call it? So I was talking to a friend of mine out in L.A., and it was like 12:30, 1:45 in the morning, our time, here on the Eastern Seaboard, and of course 3 hours difference out there, and I was trying to like use the Pocono Mountains, and I'm born and raised here. I was trying to use something about mountain radio or this. I don't know. He goes, no. He goes. You're putting yourself into a corner, and I love the Poconos, and I love where I'm from, and I don't know. I have a habit of drinking. I have a habit of drinking some rum and Coke. I mean, I've made a living out of drinking rum and Coke. That's what I've tried to do.
But you got to get off. You got to get off the rum and Coke, though, man. That's not a good one.
I know, but it's like I can't help it. So it's like when I get up, when I it is sugar. It's sugar late.
The guy can't help it. He just can't help it.
Reverting right back to that show. So I said, you know what? I got to go make myself a Colossal rum and Coke to think this out. And you know what? He said, that's it. That's it. Colossal Radio. So that's how it came. It came over a rum and Coke. The name, and it's more. I don't know. It's more of a colossal mess than it is a colossal radio station. That's all I know.
Well, that's where the best ideas come from. Right off the spur of the moment.
It really was, man.
But I like that. I like that name. It's the Colossal Radio. It's not teeny weeny. It's Colossal.
Exactly right, man. I don't know, man. It's probably because I have. You know what? I really have nothing really big on my body. If anything was bigger on my body, I would have ended up in porn. But I ended up in radio.
I'm just not going to go there with you, man. I'm not going to talk about that.
I know that's great. That is scary. Here I am. You're a rock and roll legend, and I'm bringing up porn with Les Dudek. What am I thinking? But I don't know. It's all I know is like we talked about before we went on the air. Hell, man. We've been lucky enough to have pretty cool careers, myself included. You, stellar, and it's really a short ride. How many people we've lost? How many people you've lost already? Due to whether it's self-induced or not. But it's like it's a short ride, man. None of us know, and if it's if I'm not having fun doing something at this point, man, I'm not doing it, Les. I'm just not. I refuse.
Yeah, it's the same way here, man. It's just, and it has been a up and down, crazy roller coaster ride, and all you can do is just hang on, man, and keep yelling.
Lehighton, Palmerton, Gem Thorpe, and nationwide, it's Colossal Radio. Find us online at colossalradio.rocks.